pleasure to introduce our guest speaker today. Reverend Nicole earned her Master's of Spiritual Psychology from the University of Santa Monica. She serves as staff minister at CSL Granada Hills, where she teaches classes and participates on the board of directors as the secretary. Nicole continues to expand her spirituality, having completed the Sacred Art of Living and Dying program. Reverend Nicole is inspired to enjoy the preciousness of life. She also runs a very successful tennis academy. She enjoys working out and learning new things in her free time. Reverend Nicole has been here with us several times, and it's always such a pleasure. Please join me in welcoming back Reverend Nicole Robbins.
Chris, how are you playing it's like trying to figure out how you're doing.
He has 3 arms.
Yeah, he does 4 arms, multitasking. That's abundance, right? Good morning, HDCSL. It's such a pleasure to be here in Apple Valley.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So last month I was here, we were talking about work. And this month we're talking about finances and money. Oh. Pick me up. In the past, I used to think that those were connected. I thought, well, of course, work and finances are connected. But over the last 5 years, I've realized that my money, my work, is not connected because money is a spiritual activity. I got this quote from Raymond Charles Barker, and he says, "Money is a spiritual activity. It is good, it is wonderful, and we should love it. It's not a filthy lucre, it's not sinful, it's not the devil's playmate, it's God in action." Money is God in action. The stock market is a financial barometer. I do not condemn it, I do not criticize it, nor do I bless it. I use it as an orderly part of my business world. I do not worry about the value of the dollar because whether value goes up or down, I am convinced within myself that I'm worth money and will always have it. I will always have it. I will always have money because the law of prosperity is based on the perpetual circulation of God's idea in the infinite mind. How does that sit? We have a divine inheritance. Our worth, money is ours to have if we believe that it's ours to have. As I told you last month, I used to believe that I had to work hard for my money. And let me tell you, I worked hard for my money. I remember hearing a story about a man who was the top salesman in his area. He was making the most anyone in his area was making, $35,000. And so the company thought, hey, let's move him to this bigger area and he'll do even better because it's a bigger area and more opportunity. And how much did he make? $35,000, because that was the level of his prosperity thinking. So if we're thinking that we're only worth a certain amount, that's exactly what we'll make. So how can we think in limitless possibilities? How can we be open to the divinity within us to make this money? Well, what's the first secret to this? Is doing what we love. Not worrying about the finances, but doing what we love. Find something that really motivates us, that really sparkles. What makes you sparkle? I like that word. What makes me sparkle inside? And I remember last time when I was here, someone in the congregation came up to tell me that they were so excited that I said that their creativity is their divine inheritance. They can be creative and still make money. Because they were thinking that in the past, that if I did something artistic, that how many have heard artists need to suffer for their work, right? You know, I'm an artist, therefore I need to suffer. I found this quote by Maya Angelou. You can only become truly accomplished at something you love. Don't make money your goal. Instead, pursue the things that you love doing and then do it so well that people can't take their eyes off you. What do you love doing? Chris, you're a musician. Musicians struggle. So we did toll, right? So what is something you love doing? Let's not talk about money. Let's talk about what you love doing. What is your passion? what is something that really makes you excited to get up in the morning? I love giving sermons. I love it. So Brandy sent me an email saying, hey, Nikki, can you do either of these weekends? And I'm like, yes, I can do the 23rd. I had a board meeting the other day that you offered it to me. And so what do? I go in my bookshelf and first I look at what the topic of the month is. And so CSL sets our topics, and this month I'm sure all your speakers have been talking about money with you. So I look at what the topic is and what some of the ideas are. And then I go to my bookshelf. I love books, and I pulled out, have you ever heard of Edwina Gaines? She talks with the southern accent.
Yes.
I pulled out her book, The 4 Laws of Spiritual Prosperity, and I looked through that, and she's just great. And then I looked at some YouTube videos of her, and she just talks so great. She's like, I'm a woman of power, and when she gets up there and talks, I listen. I think I've listened to 3 YouTube talks of her this last month. And then I grabbed my Eric Butterworth Spiritual Economics. Have you guys heard of that one? That's got so many great quotes. And then I found, I have so many books. The Soul of Money. The Soul of Money, actually by Lynn Twist, was the first book I ever read that kind of had me thinking about doing something I love versus doing something for money. It was a really great book about that. And then there's one more I pulled out, I'll think of it. But I pull out these books, I start looking at quotes, and I think about stories in my life that have happened, and what I can talk to you about. So one thing that I did do this last month that came forward for me is that I have a client who's a really famous nutritionist. He writes all these books and does podcasts and goes on TV. And I always wanted to ask him some health advice, but it was his job. And because he was so famous, I kept thinking, it's going to be too expensive. I don't have that kind of money to talk to this famous nutritionist about my health. But you know what? I had this menopause belly, and the weight wasn't going away, and I kind of said, you know what? I'm going to talk to him. So about 6 or 7 weeks ago, I talked to him. I'm like, please tell me what to do. This one says work out. This one says don't work out. This one says eat every 3 hours. This one says intermittent fasting. This one says celery juice. What do I do? And I go, I'll give you a tennis lesson. Just tell me what you cost. I'll pay whatever. Just tell me. Because I got to the point of just releasing that concept of I need to pay him, and it's going to cost a lot. I just trusted the universe that this man was going to help me, and I didn't need to worry about it. Well, we had a nice talk, and he came back after our talk about 2 weeks later and says, I have an opportunity for you. It's time sensitive. And I text him back, I go, whatever it is, the answer is yes. I'll be home at 6 o'clock. I had no idea what was coming up in my future, but I said yes, because this man knows what he's talking about. So he gifted me a very expensive health program. Let me say that again. Gifted me. He said, Nikki, I'm involved in this program. I don't want to do the weight loss aspect of it. I talked to them. They said, you can do it. If I tell you how much it costs, you're like, whoa. But he gifted it to me. And that's what the universe does. We don't have to worry about how much something costs. Because if it's meant to be, it's given to you. Somehow the money appears, maybe a $20 bill that you just happen to find on the ground. But that's what happens. And I have a lot of parents that come to me with their kids. Where I live, there's some of these elite private schools, and the parents are like, oh, I'd love to send my kids there, but it's so expensive. But I think I told you last time that I went to that private school on a scholarship and financial aid. And I always tell these parents, you apply. The answer is no if you don't apply. The answer might be yes. And I just had one of my students get into this private school this year on a full ride scholarship. So if we want to do something, the possibilities are there. Only our limited thinking keeps us, stopping from doing that. It's our divine inheritance. Oh, by the way, on that program, I've released 19 pounds. So. I turned on my TV the other day, and I have Spectrum cable, and the news channel pops up. And I wasn't paying attention, I was walking around my house doing something, and the story came up about this woman. They called her Tara Trent, and then I Googled her and found out a little bit more about her, but the story caught my eye. Now, where I live, everything seems possible. What if I was an 11-year-old girl living in Zimbabwe? My father just sold me for a cow for a bride price. By the time I was 18, I had 3 children. And someone came to her and said, "What are your dreams?" She said, "Well, how can I have dreams? I live in Zimbabwe, I have 3 kids. No, really, what are your dreams?" Well, her brother was in school. Because she was a female, she couldn't go to school. She did her brother's homework, and the teacher knew she was doing her brother's homework because his homework and his class participation is completely different. 11 years old in Zimbabwe, what are your dreams? Your father just sold you for a cow to be married. Well, I'd like to go to school and get an education. Maybe go to the United States and get a PhD. Guess what this woman did? In Zimbabwe, in the desert, in the middle of Africa, she wrote her dreams on a piece of paper, buried them in a tin can in her backyard. And then in, 3 children, in 2009, she earned her PhD. Wow. And then Oprah heard her story, donated $1.5 million to help build a school in her hometown. So, and I just happened to hear, I wasn't paying attention, but it just kind of caught my ear when I was walking by. So if an 11-year-old girl who was sold for a cow to be married, that was her value, 1 cow, can get her PhD in America and then go back and build schools in her hometown, I know we as a community, we have no excuses. We really have no excuses. Jesus says, I always like to say that. If you remember my talk about my first ministerial class, it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. And I threw up this photo from the James Webb Telescope because that's our kingdom, that's our universe. That is God in action. That is where we live. So, how about this one? When you realize that you don't actually create abundance, abundance is always here for us. It's our limited thinking that stops our abundance. Or what about that thought, well, they have it, I don't have it, there's not enough to go around. Well, there's prosperity for all of us. It's really up to us to open our avenues, to connect to that divine source, to really know that there's more than enough for all. And how can we tell if we're not attracting? Money is the outer symbol of our inner supply. So what do we really believe inside of us about money? There was a story about, I think Mary Morrissey was talking about Raymond Charles Barker kissing money, like, oh, I love money. I love money. Oh, isn't this good? Isn't this great? I love money. Isn't it wonderful? How does that make you feel? Do you kind of go, ooh? But if I was kissing my dog, I should put a picture of my dog, you'd be like, oh, I love my dog. You know, like, that'd be different. But what's the difference? What is the difference? It's like, what is our relationship to money? Now, I heard the quote, it takes a lot of money to keep Gandhi in poverty. Right? We know. So, in the book of, I mean, Jesus must have had a lot of money too because he was walking around doing well. So it's okay. It's great. Let's celebrate. Let's give some money and live large. Live to our fullest potential. It is God's, our kingdom. It's good. It's up to us. So in the book Spiritual Economics, Eric Butterworth says, the goal should not be to make money or acquire things, but to achieve a consciousness through which the substance will flow forth when and as you need it. Give me my daily bread. So as we need it, it just kind of comes forth. You do not receive what you want. You do not receive what you pray for, not even what you say you have faith in. You will always receive what you actually expect.
Yes.
What do we expect? All right, let's set our sights. Faith is really your consent to let your own uniqueness unfold and to let that which is attracted by your uniqueness manifest in your life. We are all individualized expressions of God. How are we going to express our financial worth? We don't have to worry about our financial worth. It's our individual God divine inheritance. It's really up to us. How easy is that? Well, it's not always so easy. Edwin Gaines says, financial debt is a need to punish yourself. So if we're in financial debt, what have we not forgiven within ourselves? She talks about tithing, giving to where we're spiritually fed. I always bring a check to this church when I come here. Do you know why? Because you guys feed me spiritually. I come in here, and I'm so blessed to be at this beautiful center, and Chris and your beautiful choir, and the wonderful people who are here at your center. I give to this church because you guys feed me. It is my pleasure to tithe to this church. That's spiritual law number one. Number two, forgive yourself for anything that you feel judgmental on. I love it in reading Gaines. She's like, I forgive myself for controlling. I'm such a control. That person on the freeway, she's just great when she talks. She feels so human to me. So there's wise use of credit, but how are we holding that credit? Like, oh, I have a mortgage on my house. Oh, I have car payments. Or I have a mortgage on my house because I have a great house. I have car payments because I have a great car that gets me to Apple Valley in an hour and a half. How are you holding it inside of you? It's how you hold it inside of you. So I did not pick up this abundance book when I thought about giving the speech. It wasn't the sermon. It wasn't until my prayer partner, Reverend Veronica, who I know you guys have the pleasure of having come up here, and our other prayer partner, almost Reverend Rachel. So we decided this month coming up that we are going to use this abundance book as part of our prayer partnering. As part of our prayer partnering. Is that Peter Piper picked up that? Saying that like 10 times fast. So I was reading it last night, and there were some things that just really stood out for me. My little dog-eared them. So he says, prosperity, this is an earnest one. Prosperity is the outpicturing of substance in our affairs. Everything in the universe is for us. Say that with me. Everything in the universe is for us. Nothing is against us.
Nothing is against us.
Life is ever giving of itself.
Life is ever giving of itself.
Oh, doesn't that feel so good? Then Emmett Fox says, refuse to tolerate anything less than harmony. You can have prosperity no matter what your present circumstances may be. No matter what's going on right now, as soon as you decide to flip that switch, things can change. Especially, if we're stuck in that limited prosperity consciousness. Let's just change that to an abundant consciousness. This book is $7 on Amazon. I'm sure it'll eventually be in the bookstore. So, oh, by the way, your bookstore has some really great books in there. I was having fun. I did a little shopping. I got here a little early. So this is a really, look, it's small. It's so small. I read it all last night. Right? You have no excuses not to grab this book.
Say the title, please.
It's called The Abundance Book by John Rudolph Price. And in this, he has a 40-day plan for prosperity. Let's make that our year-end goal. Knowing and creating our prosperity, opening up to this flow that's ours. Letting go of any of our limiting beliefs. Let's see what else I have in my PowerPoint that I made a few days ago. Gratitude and generosity are the multiplying factors. So important to be grateful. Taking that dollar and being, I'm grateful for this dollar. I love my finances. I'm grateful to have finances. I remember I used to be afraid to pay taxes. I'm like, oh, I can't believe I'm paying taxes. But the truth is, I have a great job. I make a good living. So I'm grateful I'm paying taxes because I'm making money. So it's changing that. It's changing the way we think about stuff. I was thinking about gas prices, like, oh, gas prices. I'm grateful I have a car and I have the ability to put gas in my car. And that it plugs in so I get a few miles on the electric charge too. These are things that we're grateful for. I'm grateful to eat healthy and whole organic food. I'm grateful to pay a little bit extra for that healthy food that nourishes me. So when we're looking at our finances, I'm looking at it as how is it nourishing me? What am I grateful for? So I want to finish with this little Edwin game. I wonder if I should talk with a little southern accent. Father, mother, God. So I invite you all to take a deep breath. Father, mother, God, I invite the Holy Spirit to take charge of my journey to prosperity. I let go of all that has gone before, and I now begin anew. I am free and forgiven for all the mistakes I've made in the past. I open myself now to expressing a brand new magnificence. I open myself to the infinite possibilities that are mine to choose. I open myself to receiving all the goodness I can have and to all the greatness I can achieve. I invite the Holy Spirit to heal my body, to harmonize my emotions, to renew my mind, to fill me now with a mighty faith that empowers me and allows me to commit to be all that I came to be. And so it is.